We've all been there. You're knitting the foot of your sock and you don't know exactly when to start the toe so that the sock will be the right fit. So I've developed a calculator to help answer that age-old question. All you need to do is know how many rows per inch or centimeter you have on your sock, and then the calculator will do all of the rest of the math. I've even incorporated some standard size charts that help you figure out how long a sock should be when you don't have a foot to measure. So step one, we're gonna look at a sock in progress and I'm gonna show you how to get your gauge.
All right, for this project, I've got a sock that's already got a good portion of the sole knitted. You'll want that so you can measure your row gauge. I've got this easy peasy gauge ruler that I really love because it magnifies the stitches. But if you don't have one of those, just a clear ruler or any other gauge tool will work. And then my sock ruler, which we'll come to later. So the first thing I'm going to do, I need my row gauge. So I'm going to take this bit of the sock that I've already knitted. I want the stockinette portion. Get it nice and flat. I'm just going to set my gauge ruler on there like so. We'll zoom in a little bit. And then this is my big trick. I use my cell phone. And let's just get my camera open here. And I just go right down onto the gauge ruler, zoom in as much as I can, and snap a picture. And then I'm going to count the stitches right on the phone. It's really easy. And I will jump to a screen share of my phone and show you how I do that. Okay, I'm on my phone. And as you can see, this is why I love this clear ruler, because I can zoom in and I can see the inch marks and the stitches, makes counting them super easy. Something else that makes it really easy is to use your phone's edit features. I can see these stitches okay, but if I needed to, I could go ahead and adjust the contrast or the lighting as needed. Sometimes if you have multicolored yarn, putting it in black and white mode can be really helpful. But what I am going to use is the markup tool on my iPhone. I'm sure Android phones have a similar feature. If someone has one of those, maybe you can post in the comments how to use it. But we're going to go ahead and mark off the stitches as we count them. I'm going to zoom right in. And here I go. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 rows per inch. If we want to get really accurate, we can go ahead and measure this over 2 inches. We've got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. So still 11 inches, 11 rows per inch. So now we will go ahead and hop over to the computer and we'll plug these numbers into the calculator.
All right, we're going to go over to pepperknits.com and use the calculator. See on the screen. All right, we've arrived at Pepper's Magic Toe Calculator. Before I start putting in some numbers, I want to talk to you a little bit about how to pick the length of a sock. So at the bottom of this calculator, I have given you a reference chart of how I recommend matching up sock lengths to standard shoe sizes. So I've programmed in US women's and men's shoe sizes, some of the common sizes. And what I do is I take the length of the shoe and I take a 3% discount on that length to get the size of a sock. So that's called negative ease. And it's because you want your sock to fit your foot tighter than your shoe so that it will go inside your shoe. So that 3% number is what works well for me. You may want to play around with different numbers. And so I've got those sizes down at the bottom pre-programmed into the sock calculator. So you can go ahead and choose a size and get going. You're also welcome to customize a size. So if you want to do your own thing, you can enter my own foot length. So if you happen to have a foot handy to measure, you know exactly how long that foot is or how long you want your sock to be, you can go right here, you enter my own foot length and go to desired sock length. You can say, I want it to be 9 inches, and you're all good. If you're not sure if you have a shoe chart or you want to take a foot size and maybe add some of that negative ease, just click this button that says help me calculate my ideal sock length. So here you can enter the exact foot length or the length of a shoe. So we'll say maybe that foot length was 9 inches. But maybe I just want to make it a little bit tight on my foot, so I want 1% negative ease. So I can do that. I can see that instead of a 9-inch sock, it's actually recommending just under that, an 8.9-inch sock. I'll just hit use this target length, and we'll move on. So now it says 8.91 inches, and we can go with the rest of the calculator. For this project, however, I'm going to use a standard foot size. I wear a women's size 6.5, and I'm going to click that. So you can work in inches or centimeters. I'm going to work in inches, and now I'm going to go ahead and enter that row gauge. So I had 11 rows over 1 inch. Remember, we also measured 22 rows over 2 inches. You can go up to 4 inches, but we've got that taken care of. That's going to be your row gauge in plain stockinette. I'm knitting a pair of socks designed by Very Busy Monkey. They're called Olia, very beautiful. That starts with 64 stitches. That's how many stitches are on my needles before I start that toe shaping. And then the desired final stitch count. So my pattern tells me we're going to decrease until we have 28 stitches as that desired stitch count. If the pattern doesn't specify that number, it's between 1/3 to a little under 1/2 of that usually. And the difference between the starting stitch count and the final stitch count must be divisible by 4. That is a law of knitting, not a law of my calculator, but you'll see that you'll get an error message if you've picked an impossible number to decrease. So next you want to pick your toe style. These are the 2 most popular toe styles in cuff down socks. Of course, there are other designs, and maybe someday I'll make this calculator work for them. But right now you can pick a round toe or a wedge toe. So you can kind of compare the instructions in your pattern to see which of it is. In this case, Very Busy Monkey is just having me decrease every other round from that 64 stitches to the 28 stitches. So that's a wedge toe. I'm going to click that. If I were to follow the wedge toe instructions, then the magic math tells me very easily, begin my toe creases, decreases when my sock is 7.14 inches. Tells me that toe is going to be 1.64 inches long for a total sock length of 8.78, which is what I want. The great thing about this calculator is that you don't always have to follow the pattern toe. So I actually really prefer the fit of a round toe. I'm going to select that. And then when I knit a round toe, I like to start with my 64 stitches. I like to knit it down to 20 stitches. So that's about 1/3. It makes it not quite so long. So now it's saying I'm going to do 1 decrease round followed by 1 plain knit round 6 times until I have 40 stitches on the needles. Then I'll decrease every round until I have 20 stitches on the needles. Now my toe is going to be 1.5 inches long. It's a little shorter than the wedge toe was going to be. And I'm going to stop my knitting once I'm at about 7.25 inches on that sock ruler. The total length of my sock is exactly the same. All right, so let's hop back to my knitting and see how this is going to work. All right, I'm done with my knitting. I think this foot is close to 7.25 inch, so I'm going to test it. To do that, I'm going to use my sock ruler. This is a really cool little invention. It's just a big fat ruler with a round end, about the width of a sock. And what we're going to do is put it in the foot of the sock with the sole side facing us and just push it right to the back there. You don't want it to pull it too tight, but push it to the back and keep it nice and smooth. And you can see it's 7.25 inches. Now you do want to be careful not to manhandle this sock and stretch it up really high, because that's not going to give you an accurate measurement. You don't want to pull this so that the heel is creeping over. You just want it nice and loose. Get it to your 7.25 inches. So now I'm going to go ahead and knit my toe. All right, this last bit is just me proving the math worked after I've knitted my toe. I love this pattern. And let's just go ahead and measure to see how long this ended up being. Get my cute little measuring tape here. And it is about right on at 8.75. Not bad.